few organizational and housekeeping notes. So first, we're excited to kick off our election for the DCLA board. So starting today, we are welcoming those interested to run for a position on the board to complete the application to run for office. You can find this on the DCLA webpage, and we will also send a link in the chat box here. I'm going to ask Angel to do that. Put him on the spot. The following positions are available: our president-elect, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and publicity marketing chair. The terms of office are 2 years, beginning September 1st, 2020, running through August 31st, 2022. And the last day to sign up will be July 21st. The next time we meet for our second Lunch and Learn on July 22nd, we'll begin the voting period. If you have any questions, you can reach out to the current board and we'll get you some information. So next, just a housekeeping note on how today will go. We're very excited to have two branch managers from the Miami-Dade Public Library System here to share with us their experience in reopening and repopulating their libraries. While they're speaking, we'll ask for you to keep your microphones muted. And please utilize the chat box to ask questions and have discussion amongst the group. After both speakers finish, we'll begin a Q&A and sharing of best practices at your own libraries. If you would like to ask a question or share, that we would ask that you either use the raise hand feature or type your question in the chat box. We'll make sure to keep track of questions asked here and bring them up to the speakers or the group at large. Now, to check in and make sure that the system is working, if you guys would go ahead and give us a hello, good afternoon, I'm excited to be here, some kind of message in the chat just to see that the chat box is working for everybody. We'll give it a second. There we go. Hello, hello. Yeah, don't worry about not having a mic. We'll use this chat box a lot. Great. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our two speakers. First, we are delighted to have Athy Fitos, DCLA President-elect here. She is the Miami-Dade Public Library Branch Manager for Kendall Lakes. She's just joining us now. And we're also thrilled to be joined with Ellen Book. She's the Branch Manager of the Pinecrest and Country Walk branches of the Miami-Dade Public Library System and a former DCLA President. Ellen, if you want to kick us off with your presentation first, we'll just go ahead and jump right in.
Thank you very, very much, Caitlin. I've been a manager for Miami-Dade Public since 1996, but I've been with the library system since 1987. This is unprecedented. That word has been so heavily used in 2020, but it was the first time in my career that the whole library system was closed, and we were sort of adrift. We jumped onto Zoom and would conduct staff meetings through Zoom, and we were giving all of our staff homework to do. That lasted about 2 weeks when we were called back on a small scale, a few of us at a time, to give out SNAP application. Well, first it was reemployment. And then from reemployment, after that rush was SNAP, which was a combination of Medicaid, food stamps, and also money relief. And what I was doing also was customer care at home. And it was quite interesting that when the media would get things wrong and say that the library was giving out money, how we would be flooded with calls and people who are desperate. And it was very sad to try to redirect and not know the outcome when you're redirecting people to the real source of where they can get the information that they want. But will they get a busy signal? You don't know. Back to our plan. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see if this is going. Let's see. I think you need, Patricia, you'll have to reinstate. Perfect. Okay. So let me bring this up. So from the beginning. There. So I hope y'all can hear me. This was the press release when we were going to reopen, June 8th. Excuse me. And it was all in the works, and then the protest started because of George Floyd. So it was a soft opening, and the staff were in the buildings, but we weren't opening to the public. We were giving curbside service for a while until this, and then we fully reopened once we had a plan. And the plan looked like this. And what was amazing that our director had done, Ray Baker, was that he received the okay from a team of medical experts. That included the Florida Department of Health, Jackson Health Systems, UHealth, and medical schools at FIU and University of Miami. They all reviewed this plan and the guidelines and the protocols before we opened. And that really was a good feeling for me. So I could believe in this plan and also convince and sell it to my staff, because the media does a great job in showing the worst situations across the country, across the whole world. And you know, your day-to-day life is not the same as these extremes that you're seeing on television. They're giving you great warnings, but it can be overwhelming. And you as a manager or an employee, you have to realize the thought processes of the administration that you're working under. And this plan was solid, in my opinion. And I could sell it to my staff to say, it is safe to come to work. So you can see, I'll leave this up on the screen while I talk. They went into great lengths in everything that they could predict. Our director had group calls with all the branch managers in order to provide an overview of the ins and outs and find out our concerns, answer questions about safety measures, the rules to enter the library, etc. So he had our graphics department working on floor markings and COVID-related posters, signage, even placement of hand sanitizers, disinfecting wipes, plexiglass shields. Everybody knows this, Lysol disinfecting wipes. Very hard to find. And so we were having the same experiences as the public in getting these kinds of items. So he wanted to make sure we were going to have PPE, personal protective equipment, before we started. I thought what was brilliant was that the hours of the branches, we have 50 locations, they were expanded. Our hours were increased because he knew that he had to decrease the quantity of people inside the branch. So for instance, Pinecrest's maximum capacity is 484 people. And I'm going to show you a picture of a sign that we keep right outside the library that gives you rules before you enter that say maximum capacity is 75. So he used the public areas and did his math and figured out that we had to decrease to about a fourth. We have wipes, and where there are wipes, make sure you have receptacles, because otherwise you're going to find, just like you see at supermarkets where outside in the parking lots, they're throwing away their gloves onto the ground. You want to have a garbage can wherever you're going to give a wipe. We increase our janitorial services at all branches so that we have someone coming in wiping constantly from 12 to 2 and then to 4 to 6. 30 out of our 50 branches received guard service. So there would be somebody at the door to deal with any kind of refusal to put on a mask or refusal to meet our requirements. Because at that time when we opened, it wasn't a county mandate. We no longer keep any flyers, no bookmarks, no pamphlets, except for census, voting, reemployment, SNAP, and hurricane information. There's no other giveaways. So we have parents coming to the desk and saying, can I have coloring sheets? And we say, no, there's no crayons, there's no toys, there's no puzzles. If magazines are not checked out as like books, if they're just things to browse through, they're removed. There's no newspapers here. There were plexiglass shields put at all service points and at computer stations. And that took time to install, measure and install, and they were done. And there were book trucks for browsed items. They all say quarantine on them. So people will not pick through them. And we haven't had the problem here, but our quarantine is 48 hours. So any item that is returned, anything that is donated, comes through the book drop, it's going to be put onto a cart and put into our meeting room because we are having no programs. We have some virtual programs such as the summer reading program, but otherwise there are 0 programs in this branch or any of our branches. There's also no private tutoring. And I'm going to show you how we deal with that. On a staff level, let's see, I'm going to show you some pictures. This is the first sign you'll encounter when you come to the branch. And it says the word, I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but it says 75. And that shows that the occupancy limit. And it says you would walk in, you must have a mask and you must disinfect your hands and practice social distancing. So the first thing I can encounter is this foot activated sanitizer, but if the person is disabled, we also have a hand pump. And we look like RoboCops now, but if I'm going to ask a patron to wear a mask, then I want to wear a mask and a face shield because I'm asking them to do half of what I'm doing. And I don't know if you can see that she has a plexiglass barrier in front of her, but she does. And then behind her is the quarantined cart. Here's the reference desk. What you were looking at before was the circulation. This is reference. Again, she's got a mask and she's got the face shield and she's got the plexiglass and she's got the hand sanitizer, 2 types, a pump and a foot or operated one. So this is what we did. We put red X's, that was our own device, and we have 1 chair per table. This is a way of preventing tutors coming into the branch. Again, we measured 6 feet, and this was 6 feet. So we could have 1 on either side, as long as it was hexagon. Quarantine materials, a sign that says don't reshelve. Again, if somebody is worried about the materials being touched, we tell them that put the books that we give you in a bag, and whenever I hand somebody something, I hand them a wipe. And I said, put them in a bag, keep them in your car trunk for 48 hours. All germs will die in your trunk in this 90-degree heat. You can't, I don't know if you can see, but there's a reflection toward the left that there's plexiglass straight across. We've also taken off of service 2 out of the 4 in this area and each of the tables. We've turned over the keyboard. We've also darkened the screen and made it go black. Although it is on, we have to keep all of our computers on so that they can be updated. So, but you would never think that's welcoming. So. Okay, then what our system does is it asks for any of these supplies that are needed. We just have to mark how many we need, and our supply department will provide by Tuesday or Wednesday of the next week. So these are the things that they know will be of constant need. And so they've made it very available to us. Now, for staff, it's very important that you kind of go over on a regular basis how to kindly speak to non-compliant patrons, because we've had people come in with masks on their chin. I had somebody come in wearing it like a mustache. It was below the nose and above the mouth. And so you have to first pantomime, put it on, and then pull it up. And I usually don't even bother to say anything. And then the second thing I'll say is mandatory. 1 word, mandatory. And then if they still don't get it, I have to say, you'll have to leave. What's been very difficult is that we have a 0 allowance of food or water or drinks. We have a vending machine. If they use the vending machine, they have to take it outside. So most people bring in water bottles, and we can't even have water because you take your mask off. So that's difficult because people don't understand why they can't drink or consume what they brought. We were given hand counters. We haven't needed it. We have hardly filled the building at all. People come and go. They're doing what they're supposed to do. But this is Pinecrest, and the neighborhood is very, very educated. And you may have some resistance from staff who don't want to wear the face masks, face shields. I will have no part of that. They will. I asked them to do what I do. So role model it. And we have, as I said, no programs, and we have focused on giving digital library cards. So we suggest that our patrons go to either customer care at mdpls.org or e-card at mdpls.org, and then they can access our digital resources, which our director mailed the whole library system an update. And this is from his update email that since we've reopened, we've had over 20,000 computer sessions, and we've given out hundreds of thousands of reemployment applications, and we've had almost a 50% increase in our digital content usage. So I think I was given 5 minutes. And I've taken all that time.
This is fantastic, really. I mean, this, even the numbers at the end really shows how important libraries are during these times. So thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it.
I think I left nothing for Athy to say.
It's true, other than your patrons seem to have more sense than ours. Because I walked in at 11 today and the library was swamped here. We had maybe 20 people in the building already.
Wow. That's a great segue. Athy, if you want to give us a little bit of your perspective of how things have gone and the way you've gone through with your branch.
Well, it seems that Ellen gave most of the nitty gritty. We've had some interesting experiences with patrons because they're coming to us with a certain level of stress. So the first days, because of the PPE, they can't read our facial expressions. They can't read, you know, some of the body language that normally they would expect service. So like we had an instance where the patron and the staff member were too far away to actually hear each other properly between the masks and the face shields and the actual social distance. So it didn't really lead to an altercation, but the patron got very frustrated. They were already aggravated because obviously they were just then getting access to the library, and they had come in to do unemployment and a job search and all of that, and they came into us with a certain level of frustration and stress that when they didn't get a fast enough reaction from the staff member, or even the proximity issues, because if you think about the culture down here, people stand closer to one another. So to have that social distance is even uncomfortable in certain levels. So just mindfulness towards like the culture in the communities that you're working at is a big thing. People are stressed. People are worried. A lot of them are only coming to us as a last resort, you know, because at this point we are a service point in a time of need. Who's
Kathy,
that?
do you want me to make you a co-host if you have anything you want to share, like a little video tour like you did last time or something like that?
I can take you guys for a tour if you give me 1 second. Let me put my
Okay.
let me put my PPE on.
All right.
You'll see a lot of the same, even the same furniture almost with Ellen's library. We have the same style furnitures. The only difference really is I'm gonna take you guys live through Kendall Lakes. Give me 1 sec.
All right. Thank you.
So, let me start the video. Yeah, my computer did not cooperate at all, and now I want to flip the camera and we're walking. Okay. So you can see here, this is our circulation desk. You can see the PPE and my lovely library assistant, Maria. She is doing the service. But you can see we have the three panels of the plexiglass up in the front, with a spot to slide everything through. And from here, we can move to the front of the library. And our lovely guard, Lawrence, he's got the little desk duty. I don't know how well you can see the same little foot thing, but he is keeping track of the entrance on this side, which is our plaza side. We tried to maintain one-way traffic. If you can see straight through, the green in the backdrop is our garden entrance, and we're trying to keep that as the exit. These are the adult computer areas. You can see the tall plexiglass in between that, and we have them opposite one another because it works better with the plastic acrylic dividers here. We have the social distancing at the points. We didn't mark the tables because we've not had an issue with the tutors coming in, but we do only have one chair per table. Here's my lovely youth services specialist behind all her PPE and our plexiglass. And then more computer areas. We do have a family back there studying. And then at our back entrance, my lovely page. And we tried to maintain an exit only from this side. But because we do have 2 points of entry, it is a little bit of an issue sometimes to make sure that we are monitoring everybody for the face masks and the appropriate guard. So there's Anna again, and our little foot steppy thing. We also have the vending machines, and we've had to ask people to go and eat in the plaza or the garden. But other than that, we haven't had too many behavioral issues. We've had people come in a little bit aggressive. We've had some miscommunication about the babies wearing masks. We had a 2-year-old that was very large 2-year-old, but it was a 2-year-old, and when the staff asked the parents to put a mask on the baby, it became a little bit of an issue. So I think a lot of what we've experienced has been more the behavioral side of stressed communities and having, to provide service when we ourselves are stressed as well.
That's a great point. I feel like we've seen a lot that's been done so far with how, we're going through our 6 feet apart, plexiglass, all this stuff, but a lot of it comes down to behavior. And I'd love to ask both of you, because you both mentioned it in different ways. Well, what were some of the best practices you found that worked really well when dealing with patrons who were not as welcoming to the idea of keeping their PPE on while inside?
I can speak first if you want.
Go ahead.
First, I pantomime. I just do that, and then I'll say pull up. And if they don't, I'm like, as I said, mandatory. I just try to keep it very quick because I don't want to get into a whole political speech about this doesn't work and anything like that. And so I haven't had to take it to any other level. And before when I was doing the PowerPoint, I looked at our incident reports, and we really haven't had anything to the level where branch managers have written people up. So except one person wasn't wearing a shirt or a mask and tried to come into a library. So, you know, they weren't your normal patron in the first place that was going to use the library. I think that we are lucky, just like if we were in more rural Florida, they have issues where they have more censorship, more pushback on libraries. And here people seem to be more accommodating, and they seem to understand, since it's now countywide and we are an epicenter for the disease, our numbers have got spiking. We're not as controversial as Jacksonville. One of my staff is in library school and her teacher is from Jacksonville. And that's a discussion amongst them that they've had more pushback. Kathy?
Yeah, well, just to kind of couple with that, we had the issue with the incident that happened with the baby. It resulted in my guard entering into an altercation with the patron to the point where the guard threatened the patron with physical violence, and I had to have the guard removed the next day.
Not a county employee though. One of the
No. Contract. You know, county, not an attendant, but a contracted guard who, again, themselves, it was one of those things when I was covering one of the other branches, because we did have a couple of closures and we did have to have staff go into isolation. That guard showed up at the other library to do the DEO paperwork. So she was let go from the contract company as well. So it just shows that there's a level of stress across the board. You know, we have to be vigilant. We've had to add service points where we usually just man 2 service points. Right now we have four people on the floor at all times.
The policy states that if you are feeling ill, you are not to come to work, period. And if it does happen, and it has, the entire staff have been asked to go home for 2 weeks from the time that they were exposed to that person. The library is deep cleaned. It's usually been closed for 3 days. And then staff from other branches go in and they have limited service. Instead of our extended hours of 9:30 to 8, Monday through Thursday, the branch will only be a 1-shift branch, 9:30 to 6, with staff from other locations. So I believe that our safety is #1 concern of our administration, but the staff are not necessarily being as safe as they can outside of the library. And that was Nagoya, who runs Jackson Memorial. He was stating that his medical staff were getting sick. I think it went from like single digits to double digits, but they weren't getting sick from work. They were getting sick from family and friends on the outside.
That's a really great point, talking about how we're working with our employees too and coming back. And I know we kind of get to guinea pig you guys a little bit because the academic libraries are still all in remote settings. But how has it been with your staff with this transition? How are they, you know, experiencing this and working with them through this time and this transition back to being, you know, in person?
Athy or
Well,
Athy?
Yeah, if you don't mind, Ellen, I was gonna say my staff seem to be mostly taking the most precautions. You know, we've talked about how to be safe. A lot of us, we have a lot of very worried people here, and we also have a lot of people who have underlying conditions. So there is a level of precaution that I think the majority of the staff are taking here, but that does not mean that somebody in their household doesn't bring it home to them, because you can't stay away from your babies, you can't stay away from your spouse. You know, if you've got a limited space, you can't escape it. And so we've just talked about, you know, the whole practices. You know, everybody's been very careful about the stores and all of that. So I don't think the staff is not scared to be around each other, but we are definitely concerned when we do have to serve in the public areas, and people need some kind of extended assistance where we're standing 6 feet away from them and telling them how to navigate a website.
This actually is a good time, I guess, for me to ask my question. So in terms of the staff of the library, have any accommodations been made for people who do have conditions that place them at a higher risk, to allow them to continue to work remotely while you guys are opening? Anything like that, or is everybody required to come in regardless?
Until June, from when we closed, which was mid-March, right after the election, to the public, and then a week later we were left the building. The people who were over 65 were not expected to come back. And then in June, everybody was expected to come back. I think it's because of all of the PPEs and because of all the new knowledge that we had about the spreadability. Even though there were different variations of wear a mask, don't wear a mask, and is it through the airflow or is it touchable items? I think we all need to protect ourselves and never assume that the person who you love or know very well from work is not asymptomatic. You have to treat every single person as if they have it. And I think that's the only way that we're going to get through it. One of the things I suggest you get is a laser pointer, because with a laser pointer, when you're showing somebody something, you can point it out on their keyboard across the room. It's a wonderful device. Any more questions?
I know I'm asking too many questions, but that actually brought up another thing for me. Is there anything that came, like, maybe, and this could be for both of you or even anybody who's currently working in person still, but was there anything that stood out as maybe a challenge you weren't expecting to face, or even on the other side, something that you thought would be a challenge but has been pretty smooth sailing as you've gone back?
Kathy or me?
Well, I'm just surprised I'm surprised that we don't have more people in the library, but then at the same time, I'm also surprised by the number of people who do venture out to the library, if that makes sense, because the number of phone calls that we were receiving prior to the official reopening, every call was, "Are you open yet? Are you open yet?" So we were waiting, you know, to have people at the floodgates, you know, the first days. And when it didn't happen, it kind of surprised me. But then today when I walked in and there were 20 people here, it felt like the library was full. You know, it felt like, wow, this is kind of something strange. And with each of the different openings, we felt the change in the number of people who were coming in.
A couple of interesting things. We have changed our policy about late fines. We don't have any. We've also made, we do no money. So we do not ask money for photocopying or for printing, which hasn't gotten out to the general public. But when people do come in, they're more than happy to find that out. Has it been abused? Certainly. At certain places. I heard that at the main library, somebody was starting a business and they were overjoyed to know that they could create tons and tons of their paperwork through the library for free. And not having charges for late means that people are keeping their items and they don't feel compelled to make us into the routine. It used to be 28 days. And so if you checked something out on a Saturday, 4 Saturdays from now, you'd come back. Now it's 30 days, but no fines. So, and it automatically renews. So we're not getting the walk-in traffic, which is a good thing. The other thing I heard from a listserv, of FLA listserv, was that if you make accommodations for a person, so if a person doesn't want to wear a mask and gives you an issue, then you can say, I will get any book that you want or any item you want, and I will bring it to you, and I can also bring it to your car. So as long as you're providing the same quality of service, they are not outside their rights. If they can't come in, we can bring it to them. So that also takes down the heat of the confrontation.
That is something actually here that we had to do, because we've had people call us and say, I don't feel well enough to get out of the car. And so we have literally gotten their barcode number and information and taken their holds out to them out in the service plaza. So there's alternative means of doing all of this. And the other thing too is, and Ellen mentioned the quarantining of the books. We also are not giving even the little receipt papers. So we're trying to go as little transaction as possible, trying to get people to use the electronic side of the catalog so that they can view their items and their holds and all of that. And making sure that we're engaging them that way, so that they can monitor things. And we do give them the little warning that stuff may stay on their account for 2 to 3 more days because of the quarantining, because people panic when they see the book is still checked out to them.
We'll also send things through the mail. So if somebody says, I just cannot leave my home, then items will be mailed to them for free. We also, the Museum Pass program, which is very popular, is back on a very limited scale. The only museum that has come back to us is Fruit and Spice Park. So there's 1 pass per branch, and that's able to be given out now.
I have another, sorry, things just keep coming to my head. But I wanted to know how you guys, I've seen a lot of libraries utilizing social media in different ways, whether it be for, story hours that they're doing as read alouds, things like that. Have you guys been using any type of social media or online thing like Zoom with your patrons, or is there any kind of virtual way you've been reaching out to them?
So I can speak for our branch here. Our community engagement department and marketing have really encouraged us to do a lot of virtual story times and some brief recorded programs that can be posted to the social media, that are posted to our YouTube website. So my staff have actively been engaged in story times. I had one librarian and another library assistant who did sign language as a program. So we did very brief, very introductory. Hopefully those will continue. And we had a craft program for the May the 4th, for the Star Wars. And so they're trying to engage more in that regard. We have continued our young adult programming with our teens, because we give them an open Zoom room that is password protected, and have them continue that engagement with the library, because once we can have them back, we do want them. And it's the only way that we can maintain the continuity. And we were having regular trainings that are called learning circles that were meeting face to face, and this was staff trainings. Those kind of fell to the wayside between the closures and the quarantining. And now we're looking at finding ways. We're getting ready to start some for trauma-informed care, since this is a global traumatic event. So we're looking to start those possibly next week virtually at 2 of our branches.
I think that's one of the advantages that we as an academic library, or as academic libraries, have over the public libraries, which is that, I mean, B is here, so is Jenny, so they know. But in terms of our, let's say my department, Information and Research Services, where B and I work, I mean, literally 100% of my work I can do and have been doing from my home, and so has B, with the possible exception of pulling books from the shelves for withdrawal. But actually even coming up with the list of books that we'll withdraw once we're back in the building, I can do from home. So in terms of the services to our students, you know, we've been doing chat service from, you know, we started at 9, we found out it was too early. So we do it from 10 to 9 p.m. Every day. So we do reference and research consultations over Zoom individually. We do, you know, we're now getting ready. We start a pilot this week of sort of like what Athi was talking about. So it's going to be a permanent open room that people can come up to, and, you know, a librarian will be there waiting to provide services just as if they were at a reference desk, face to face as opposed to chat, for those people who prefer to see people, you know, face to face as opposed to just typing on your computer. So we're going to be piloting that. We've been doing instruction. I mean, I've been doing my teaching through Zoom as well. So there's a lot of the stuff that we do, or most of the stuff that we do that can be done from home, if not everything, depending on what your job is. I know for Jenny it's different because she works in access services, so they have a different, you know, they've been checking out a lot of devices and laptops and checking them back in and a lot of different things like that, and getting ready to eventually repopulate the library. But, you know, so we've been able to do that. And the university's plan for repopulating does make the exception for people. If you self-identify as someone who has a condition or health condition, or lives with someone or takes care of someone who has a health condition that places them at risk, then you will not be required to come back to work. You will be allowed to do all your work remotely, or will be allowed to, you know, or they will find other work for you to do remotely, so you don't have to be on campus. So that's I think a very very different thing, and I'm glad that is happening, because I had already been putting money aside in case I had to take extended leave without pay, you know, if they decided that people had to come back, because you know, my situation at home does not really allow me to be out and about bringing possible stuff home. So So we have, that's why I asked you, Ellen, if you guys had done anything like that. I think for us, it will be interesting. I mean, we have a very large university with a very large building and a lot of undergraduates who pay very little attention to rules. and
signs.
and signs, right? Exactly. So we'll see how it goes. But you guys have done a really good job. I'll say that. You guys have done a fantastic job.
The other thing that happens to us is that we have staff that can be pulled to other departments. So I had 2 staff, now it's down to 1 at a call center, and she makes appointments for COVID. And so I get inside information that way. I could find out what's happening in the world before the news media does, because at least I have somebody who I know that's doing that. And she was called to do that the day before we closed. So she's been gone since, oh my goodness, March 23rd, 24th. And it's been difficult for her. And they were moved to a call center that was brand new in the north, and then they were moved to an area in Overtown, and then the protests were happening. It's been interesting. So she's been living this. And then I have 3 of my staff that get pulled for food distribution. And that gets told to them by text the day before. And then I had one of my staff volunteer to do Surge. And Surge is going around with county commissioners or people in hot pockets of Homestead, Hialeah, wherever there's a big increase, and giving out masks and giving out supplies, which is amazing to me that she's doing this. And sometimes it's from 5 to 9 at night, and other times it's from 8 in the morning till 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And that was based on volunteering, but the food distribution and the call center was mandatory.
That's really fantastic. I mean, it takes a lot to be out there, especially, it's what, I think we're all nervous enough just to go back to work, but to really be out and interacting with people, I don't know, it feels more daunting than usual. But yeah, thank you guys for sharing this too. This is super, super, super helpful.
I hope so.
We also have, we're creating for each of the Lunch and Learn meetings that we have with everybody. We're coming up with a reading list of additional articles or resources or tools that could be helpful for each topic that we're discussing. And I'm gonna go ahead and post the link here in the chat box, and we'll try to, we've also, I believe, put it on the website, I wanna say. I could be wrong, and Angel will correct me. Yes, it is on the website. But I wanted to also send it to you guys here. Hopefully it has a couple of things in there that could be helpful, no matter what type of library you work at. It's a lot from ALA, a lot from ACRL, and PLA. So let me go ahead and send that now. Do we have any other questions or comments that we want to share?
Who else is already back to work physically, like at their institution?
You just want to, you can use a raise hand feature if you want to just raise your hand and show us if you're back. Or a thumbs up. Thumbs up? I'm not a Zoom person.
Well, I'm not seeing a hand for myself, but I think that's because I'm the host. So anybody who's not a host should have a little hand to raise.
Or under reactions.
Or reactions.
Yeah.
Maybe most of us aren't back yet.
There we go. No, that's true. Just a couple. We really are here to learn from you guys too, to see how it looks.
I can see that. I can see that. No, I know. Yeah, Jenny has been going in person. Yeah. But nobody else. So yeah, so this is.
I still just love the laser pointer. I'm still sitting here going, we need to get laser pointers. That seems like such a helpful tool when you're working from 6 feet apart.
Yes.
Especially like most of it is how to click. Where do you click on the computer to get to the next thing? And it's like right here.
Mm-hmm. So actually, Patricia, the dean had approved some of our staff coming into the library prior to phase 1 opening. because we had so much work that had to be done. You know, I mean, the drop-offs of the laptops and the books and the book drops and the searches that we have to do going forward with Alma, and, you know, just a million different tasks that had to be performed. So we have people coming in just about every day to work. I have not been going in very much, but you know, I work every day anyway. But I have been in a couple of times.
Yeah, no, we're working every day. I know that.
Yeah,
I know that you guys, but you're doing, because I think you guys are doing like an alternating, or right, like schedule for the
Yeah,
people?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. We've
So
been
some
doing
people
that.
come one day and then others.
Yeah,
get
exactly.
a follow-up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of work to be done. Just because we're closed doesn't mean that we don't have a lot of work to do.
Well, that's why I like the way Rosenberg puts it. I like the fact that he actually calls it not a reopening plan, but a repopulating plan.
Yeah.
Because, and he's very clear about that. We never closed. We've been teaching. We've been providing services. We've been doing everything. We just haven't been physically there. But,
The only thing we have not been doing is providing books and videos and anything from general collection to, and we're going to be starting that as soon as we get the phase 1. We'll be doing the contact-free delivery of items, and they'll be doing the requests through the website. So I'm anxious to get back to that, because I keep getting emails and phone calls from mostly faculty. You know, with the fall semester coming up, I totally understand it. They need to get resources for the students. So as soon as we can start to provide that, the better.
Yeah, MDC is very similar, where we've been completely still running mostly about Ask a Librarian. That's been well populated with our librarians, and also through Blackboard Collaborate, our LMS system. All of our tutoring is done remotely, and we also have librarians working with students one-on-one or in small groups in virtual settings like this one, which has really allowed them to kind of keep going business as usual with, of course, the frequent tech glitches that we all deal with. But it's been interesting to see that transition. I think it's also something that one of the good things I think that we can take away from this whole, you know, era that we're in right now of COVID is learning how we can utilize the resources that we have to now, that we were forced into, and maybe we're a little apprehensive of beforehand, and seeing the benefits of how this can, you know, continue to make us better and stronger even as we return and repopulate our libraries, which has been interesting. I know that we've definitely seen that at the beginning, we were like, I'm not sure about this virtual remote library tutoring thing, but as we move forward, we definitely see the benefits of it. And even within our e-resources, things like that, where we're putting our funding, as you showed those numbers, you see our patrons in the public libraries are still wanting and coming and needing, especially during a time like this. So it does, you know, show us how we can continue to adjust and benefit them.
And students are I don't want to say preferring it, but they're definitely liking the online services. So even when we do go back to a relatively normal, you know, face-to-face work, and that's why I said relatively, I think some kind of like online reference and online tutoring will continue, because, you know, students are saying, well, I have to work, you know, I can't get on campus every single day. Can I just get a tutoring session, you know, through my computer? So it is pointing to a different way of life, at least when we get back.
And I will tell you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Has anyone tried Tutor.com through the Miami-Dade Public Library system? Because we've increased it from 3 to 11 to now noon to midnight. And
Nice.
yeah, and it's 3,000 live tutors, and they can go from kindergarten through adult, college degree, and they're very, very helpful. And they can help with job searching, which is very important now. They'll work on the resume. You can turn in an essay, and in 12 hours they'll return it to you, corrected.
And this is this found on the website, on the MDP
Tutor.com.
website? Very good. All right.
What I was gonna say too is there's a service through tutor.com for resumes as well. So if you have people who are looking for reemployment, it's another resource as well. They don't only look at the essays, but they'll also review the resume and
Nice.
any cover letters. So it's an additional resource now that, you know, our whole community is feeling this.
And the library system had reinstated live tutors on Saturdays. And during this closing and all this period, they've been doing it online. So besides Tutor.com, which are these 3,000 tutors somewhere in the world, and the Department of Defense uses Tutor.com also. They use it 24 hours a day for soldiers across the world. We have for elementary through high school live tutors that we've hired that are, Afi, are they doing it through Zoom?
Yeah, they're doing it through Zoom. We did have a bunch of Zoom accounts that were given to us from the county, plus we've purchased additional ones. We have roughly 80 tutors. Well, we had, I don't know how many they've recontracted with for this whole period, because I know also, since a lot of them are teachers that are active, they may have had other obligations through their schools because they were teaching as well. But they have given them Zoom accounts that are password protected. The sessions are recorded, as far as I've heard from community engagement, in order to protect the students and the tutors themselves. So that is something that did continue after we closed. I think they reinstated it last month.
And they're certified teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
we
of
have.
them.
Well, I was gonna say we have a similar combination of like we have Smart Thinking, which is like Tutor.com, and we have our own in-house tutors tutoring through Blackboard, and it's, you know, some students like their regular, they have, you know, their groupies, so they like their regular tutor that they work with face to face, so they'll gravitate toward them through Blackboard, and some are okay with Smart Thinking, so at least we're giving them options.
Very good. Well, I will say this, I mean, to your comment, Alex, about the students liking it and, you know, or at least being open, you know, wanting the options to continue, you know, for those who cannot make it to campus in person, etc. I myself, as a teacher, let's say, somebody who's been doing the instruction sessions online, I will tell you that those instruction sessions actually go better than the ones in person. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when you have all those students on your screen, I think, I don't know if it's because they don't really know if you're seeing them or not, but they're all paying a lot of attention and actually very engaged. Whereas when you have them in a classroom, they're paying attention, sort of, but they're also on their phone and they're also on the computer. Yes, exactly.
It's because the session is being recorded, so they're on their best behavior.
I'm sure there are many reasons, but they're all like paying attention to everything you're saying and doing, and they're all responding, you know, like, I better say it's something, you know, and she asks a question. So I'm taking advantage of those. All right. Well, thank you, Athi and Ellen. You guys, you guys have done an incredible job, and kudos to you for being so zen about it.
Well, if you guys think about it, you know, you tried to put a positive spin on everything that's negative. You know, this kind of crisis really is an opportunity, and in the sense that we may not be coming back to the same thing that we knew that libraries did before this pandemic. Yet we're still obliged to the service that we have to perform for our communities, you know, be it the academic, be it the public, be it the, you know, archive and special collections.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really shown that the communities can adjust if we have to do, these services through different venues.
Makes sense.
The last thing I'd like to say is that that tax base has taken a huge hit from all the businesses that were devastated by being closed. And so we really don't know the future, and our director is being quite strategic, trying to be needed by the community.
Yes, of
To
course.
to be on the forefront of where we can be relevant. And when budget crises come around, they don't think of getting rid of libraries.
Which
Exactly.
often happens.
Well, what I was gonna say to that, and I don't know because I did miss about half of the presentation, Ellen, because I was having tech difficulties. But we increased for most branches between 1 full day of service to 2 full days of service, simply by reallocating staff to smaller branches and extending the hours from the 9:30 to 8, 4 days a week. And that in and of itself is something that our administration can very easily show as progress on a rate of return on investment. And so just to show that, yes, you can do more even in these situations.
And I think it's good to bring up that that's also where a lot of the series is going, is really trying to find our relevance in the community through different aspects. And I'm hopeful that we will continue to find that as a group and from one another as we meet at these bi-weekly lunch and learns throughout the summer.
And thank you, Patricia and Caitlin, for jumping in when I got ambushed with a meeting. I really appreciate it.
No problem. We are all getting ambushed by meetings all the time.
It's just the thing that basically when you're working at home, you're free.
I actually got lucky today because I had a meeting set up before this one, but the person that I was meeting with resigned, so I didn't.
Wow, that's extreme.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you guys.
The first meeting that was canceled.
So the great thing is we've recorded this, so we'll be able to post it later if you want to share it with others and invite them to come to the next session and, you know, register to be a member of DCLA.
Yes. And please remember that if you haven't actually paid your member, I think as I'm looking around the screen, I think everybody has, but if you haven't, or, you know, if you're going to promote us to other people, please make sure that they do become members and pay their membership, because you know, we do some things that, we don't do a lot of things that cost a lot of money, but we do try to do some things like scholarships for people to go to Cephlin and you know, other certain things that we need at least a little money to support. So that's anyway, there you go.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you on July 22nd.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Stay
Bye.
safe.
See you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.